I like that I won, but really and truly, I didn't like the series of my throws. I felt like I could do a lot better. But I guess it was just one of those meets.
I'll just say, did it take you a little bit to get into the flow because of the moving up of the schedule tonight?
I would say mentally I was more prepared to compete later on, but, kind of like Rudy was saying, I like that I didn't have to wait for so long. And then whenever you have to compete, you have to compete. Like, you can't really change that around other than the meet directors,
Sure.
But I wouldn't say that necessarily affected it too much,
But you've been so adaptive throughout your entire career, and like as I said, tongue in cheek about the weather that you and Leanna and everybody had to navigate through last year. I mean, even with the adjustment on the starting time, just how blessed did you feel to be out there and just be like, maybe a little bit more of a tailwind would always be beneficial, but but you'll take still over what you had last year.
100%. I always say I'd rather no win than too much win any day. And so one thing I would say that I'm happy about in terms of like the time for me to compete moving up is it was really good weather. And that's why I kind of a little bit bummed with my performance in the sense that it was a good opportunity to throw really far, but I guess some technical things didn't necessarily line up for me.
But because it's such a long year, I mean, there's a lot of time to adjust.
For sure.
So, what's something you would go back to the drawing board and look at after a meet like this?
Definitely my run-up. I feel like my run-up, I was taking a bit of time to kind of get comfortable with it. It wasn't smooth in terms of transitioning from the straight ahead run into my crossovers, and then I would decelerate a bit at the end and because I'm watching the line, and then I would also kind of have like a soft block, which isn't helpful for me at all. And so just fixing my run-up. My run-up has always been kind of like the defining factor of my throw to an extent.
In terms of how you're evaluating late April this year versus wearing a Nebraska kit and knowing that it was going to be Big Tens and and regionals and NCAAs, does it just allow you a little bit more patience? Like Keenan said, I mean, you knew last year was a long year, going all the way to Paris, but like the fact that you don't have to hit certain checkpoints at certain times, does that just give you a little bit more peace?
100%. I like that now I have a bit more flexibility with my schedule, like you say, not having to perform at specific times, but being able to adjust things a bit more to what would be best for my body and best for my performance,
I know you're not both shot putters, Phil and Rudy, maybe back in your day you were at some point.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on what last night presented with the World Shot Put Series and how that kind of, is helping grow field events, especially because field events are not involved in Grand Slam track. And so